Hello, welcome to the second look. On Saturday, Aston Villa secured all the points in their must-win clash at AFC Bournemouth, which means that Cherries fans are probably resigning themselves to the fact that Europe is not going to be a thing this season. And for Villa, it was a very un-Villa-like performance, but it would have been everything that Unai Emery would have wanted. They were resolute at the back. They didn't give our wingers pretty much anything. And when you've got someone like Ollie Watkins who could sniff out a goal like that, then they had something to hold on to, and they certainly did. And for us, it was an uphill battle from there. They went down to 10 men. Should they have gone down to 10 men earlier? We'll ask the question. We'll mull over it. But with the score ending at 1-0, Cherries were definitely given the elbow. And yeah, let's discuss. If you're watching, you can see two familiar faces. Firstly, to my left, BP, BOTN BP, Ben Phillips, our TikTok man. How are you? You all right?
Yeah, all good.
How did you find the game on Saturday? Emotions at full time briefly? Frustrated?
Oh, so frustrating. I had big head loss of Jefferson's miss after, but it was frustrating. It was one of those games, and it feels like we've had too many of those games in the second half of the season. But yeah, what can we do? Villa are probably better than us, so it is.
Probably are. And also, Neil Dawson's here. How are you, Neil? All right? Good.
Yeah, good. Yeah, no, great to be back.
And you were in the East Stand for this one, were you?
Yeah, in the East Stand as per normal, up by the cameras.
You were in the North? No, you were in the main stand, hospitality. Yes. And look, we need to talk about this because you were there courtesy of ComAve. Let's talk about your experience. How was it? What time do you get there for hospitality? Is it like 3 hours before?
Yeah, I got there at about 2:30, and then head up to the cherry orchard. And to be honest, it was a lot better than I originally expected. It felt, because I've been in the main hospitality a few times before, but prior to COVID, and it was very, very similar to that. I thought the food that we had was brilliant. The chats I had with Steve Fletcher and Warren Cummings was very, very good. And it was a very enjoyable experience. I loved it.
What did you have to start? Did you have the Prosecco, or did you have the orange juice, or the little non-alcoholic cocktail? What did you have? Because they're lined up for you. I've always wanted to take two, but you can only have one.
I tried Prosecco for the first time ever, and I originally thought for some odd reason it tasted a bit like a cider, but it wasn't for me. So I settled with the waters for the day. And, that was me.
What was your starter? Can you remember?
A nice salad, to be fair, and had some weird salad dressing on that I'd never really thought I would like, but yeah, had some lovely chicken for the main and a nice brownie for dessert that set me up nicely for what I thought would be a good, entertaining game of football.
It's always a good atmosphere there, isn't it? And I think it's MC Ross that's in the cherry orchard, and he does a good job. How did you do at the quiz? That's the big question.
I think we did quite well. We didn't end up getting our score back, but I think off the top of my head, I think the winners got 8 out of 10 and we got 7. So yeah, it was a good laugh.
Yeah, so Ben was there courtesy of ComAve. Check out our socials because there's going to be a social media short coming out that documents the day. But yeah, thanks to ComAve for the opportunity, and that you can win Cherries prizes, including merch, hospitality, and lots of different experiences. Follow ComAve on all your socials. Links are down below. So today we're filming at a different location. It's the New Inn in Poole. And Neil, this is very local for us too, isn't it?
It is. And I remember when this room was a football terrace when Sky Football first came out.
No way.
In the early 90s, yeah. They built a massive terrace here and a big screen at the bottom, and people used to pack it out for teams that they'd obviously never seen before. So,
yeah. It's an ideal
Sounded
place.
like a right old fart now. Ben's like there was a time before Sky Sports. What do people do?
Yeah, what is that? Yeah, have a drink here. Good food as well. £10 roast, by the way, as well. And loads of events going on as well. So you can also do me a favour by checking out their socials. Thanks to Chris and Tobias for sorting this space today. But ideal location. Hop on down. So Neil, is the dream over then? Is it over? I mean, technically it's not, but I don't feel too optimistic about our chances from here on in.
No, I think you've got to think we're going to go to Man City. I know everyone will say, but Southampton got a draw against them, but Southampton didn't really leave their penalty area. We will. It's De Bruyne's farewell game. I think they'll probably have too much for us. I think we're down to the fact we've got no one to bring on now. We were back with that stage where I think we'll only have Jeb and Son and Brooks to come on. No one that will have value. So I would imagine we probably won't get anything at City. So you're relying then on Brentford and Brighton not getting a point in their next game out. So I think we can probably wave goodbye to it. Not that it might be a place anyway, because surely we're all going to be cheering on Palace now, aren't we?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, part of me is conflicted with this. Part of me almost wants Crystal Palace to win, so that 8th was never a thing anyway. But then part of me thinks, okay, maybe if Man City win, it still keeps that hopes alive. Maybe they'll be out on the beers on Sunday night, hungover a little bit. The players on the Tuesday, so it's quite a quick fixture turnaround. I mean, Ben, it is clear by looking at the table, we'll pop it up on screen now, specifically our bit, that bunch of 4 is now a bunch of 3, you'd say. Fulham not really in it.
There's only really a world where it is still a 4 if then Fulham somehow then turn around and beat Brentford, and then it's all really compact going into the last day. We're dependent on the Brighton score. Obviously they're playing Liverpool, and Liverpool haven't really been on it since they won the title, which is expected. But yeah, it kind of is a 3, but then it wouldn't surprise me if it just went down to Brighton and Brentford on the last day, because Brentford look unstoppable. I can't remember the last time that they even lost a game off the top of my head. And Brighton, they've started to pick up a little bit as well in the last few games, getting a good point against Newcastle, and then obviously with their result at the weekend. So yeah, it's annoying, because I think for large parts of the season, we were nowhere even near that. You know, there was a point at Southampton away for about 5 minutes that we were 4th, just before Man City scored in their game against Leicester. And then obviously it's now, 2.5, 3 months later, and it's now a battle for 8th instead of maybe 4th or 5th. But it is what it is.
Makes you think of all of those 4 games against Brighton and Brentford that we had as well, where we could have taken points in any of them and didn't. And at the time it was like, it's just another game. But now you look back and think, that we hit the crossbar, didn't we, in the last minute at Brentford. Brighton, that was never a penalty. No, still annoyed about it. And you can go through those 4 games. It wasn't like we got beat 3-0 in those games, was it? We were right in them. But
I think we hit the bar against Brighton at home as well in the last minute as well. Yeah. So it's fine margins, dare I say.
So Brentford have got Fulham at home, Wolves away, and look, there's I've chatted to a few Fulham fans who said that, there is nothing they do not want Brentford to get 8th, because nothing would hurt them more. So given they've got to play at the G-Tech, maybe they can do us a favour. I don't know. I don't think the fans sort of sentiment naturally resonates with the players on the pitch, who probably won't really care, will they? Brighton have got Liverpool at home, Spurs away. Like you say, you don't know what Liverpool you're facing. You don't know what Spurs you're going to face, but the fact is,
you pretty much know what Spurs you're going to face these days, don't you?
Well, I know.
They just lost their 20th game yesterday.
That's so bad. Then they've not going to hit the 40-point mark, and they might not, which is absolutely baffling. How mad is it that the teams in 16th, 17th, the Europa finalists as well? Does that show how poor the general quality of the Europa is, maybe, Neil?
Yeah, because there's no drop-down teams from the Champions League this year. I think that's a big one, because maybe in previous years, if there's a group that has, I don't know, Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Inter Milan, if Inter Milan were to come 3rd out of the 4 in the group, they drop down to the Europa League. And
the conference as well. I mean, Chelsea literally walked their way with their reserve team, haven't they, to get close to the final. So it's, But
I didn't realise that the Conference League that actually just exclusively goes to the winners of the EFL Cup, Carabao Cup. That is that. But given the fact that most teams that win it are usually in the top 4 or 5,
we never got to find it out.
I didn't even know. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Because it's mainly Man City that win it, isn't it? So
it's before the Villa game. I said it's and I spoke to Ian Thompson on our Telegram group, and he said it's just a case of controlling the controllables from this point forward. But against Villa, we didn't do that, did we, Neil? I mean, it was. I mean, Villa did what they had to do, but as far as we were concerned, we didn't look ourselves whatsoever to be.
No, we've had a pattern in the last few games. I think possibly since Christie's not been around, that when we get the ball in the final third, the pass that we then do is just absolutely woeful.
It was bad.
And there was so many times when we were in really good positions, and I thought earlier on in the season we'd have cracked on and it would have ended up with a shot or a really decent cross. The ball that we play is just so poor. I don't think Kluivert's been particularly on it since he's come back from his spell out. He was just dynamite before his spell out. Tabs as well, and Semenyo they're dangerous players, but that ball to the final ball, I can't think of another way of describing it, it's just been so off in the last sort of 3 or 4 weeks. And I think, I don't know why it is. Is it tiredness or is it confidence? I don't know, but it's just not there.
Yeah, it was a crunch game, and I think Villa fans are probably going to look back at this if they do get Champions League and think, God, that was a pivotal game against Bournemouth. But it is pivotal for us in that it's shafted our season pretty much. I mean, what could do you have any inkling as to why we just weren't seemingly up for it, or do you think we need to pay credit to Emery here for a tactical masterclass on the Iraola?
Well, I think it's a mix of two things. It's a mix of Villa being probably a lot more experienced in important games in terms of the Premier League compared to us. Like Watkins has done it for a number of years. They've got a lot of players who have got that experience, whereas we don't quite have that. I know maybe Evan Nilsson or Kirkes has played in European competitions, but it's not quite the same as the crunch games in the Premier League. But then it's also, if you look at the last 2 games that we've won in God knows how long, is it maybe even since Southampton, that the Fulham win and then Arsenal, the Fulham win was kind of almost a freak goal in the first minute, which is not more luck than judgment, but it's a moment of madness in terms of Robinson making a mistake that he doesn't really normally make, and then Arsenal 2 set-piece goals. Yeah. It feels like we've lost a lot of our identity in the attacking half. And Emery's obviously realised that, and he made the midfield very compact, didn't really give us a lot of room. Thought Onana was brilliant. Yeah. I was watching Max Stokes on Villa on tour, and he was preaching about him in his vlogs then about how amazing he was. So it's obvious that both sets of fans could see that he was maybe the real reason to why they were so dominant, because I think sometimes against really physical players we can sometimes struggle, and he's got a bit of everything, and I'm not going to say what won them the game, but was probably a very big reason.
They were very well drilled, weren't they? Their back 4, I thought, I hate to say it because Tyrone Ming was in it, but their back 4 was superb. And Martinez, obviously, they worked out our long throws because Martinez just came and stood on Dean Hyson, which was very brave. Yeah. And I kept thinking, surely we're going to aim it somewhere other than Dean Hyson, but we didn't. And the crowd were moaning in the first half because we weren't playing corners in. Yeah. But I could see why we didn't play corners in, because in the second half when we did, they won every single, either Martinez caught it or it was headed out. So I think Iraola had said before the game that they got 4 6'4" blokes and Onana and Martinez. Let's not put the ball in the air to Evan Nilsson and Tab. So we tried not to put the ball in the air, which frustrated the fans. But I think had we put the ball in the air, it wouldn't have been any different anyway. So they were a really, really good side.
They are, but it's ironic that in a game against Arsenal where we out-set-pieced them, I remember 2 corners in particular in the first half where we couldn't even get the ball in the box because it was intercepted really early. Yeah. I think it was in the corner of the east stand and the main stand. Yeah, it was, and both times it was cut out really early, so we were groaning away. But like you say, that's why they were doing that. Yes, it didn't work, but it was just their aerial prowess. And, they seem to be quite a pretty much tall team all over, really. Yeah. And like you say, Ben, Onana as well. I mean, we'll talk about the teams in a minute, but my God, he was an absolute beast. Well, for those watching on YouTube, we'll just check out the league table. And Villa, their win was crucial given the results elsewhere. I mean, Newcastle got that win over Chelsea, but they're hanging in there in 6th. I think Nottingham Forest, of course, they drew. They dropped points, but Europe is confirmed for them. Did you see that thing with the owner, Neil?
Yeah, so there is.
Make of that?
We've had our own experiences of that, haven't we? With owners, our one was probably slightly more drunk, but he's clearly an emotional guy, isn't he? When you look at his past and some of the things that he's done, he's clearly couple sandwiches short of a picnic, isn't he? And he arrived on the pitch. But what I thought was absolutely brilliant was the way Nuno handled it, because there'd be other managers, wouldn't there? That you can imagine if someone had done that to Postecoglou, there'd have been a right Greek show off in the middle of the pitch, wouldn't there? Kebabs flying everywhere. But Nuno handled it really perfectly, I thought. So he kind of smoothed it over from a PR point of view. But no.
Foley would never do that.
He wouldn't.
Never do that.
He wouldn't. No.
So, look, Ben, 2 games to go, which we don't know what's going to happen, but whatever way you look at it, it's been an incredible season for us. It's been a record-breaking season. And if the words of Thiago Pinto and Bill Foley are to be believed at the recent fans forum, sounds like it's going to be a very busy summer. We obviously know that we're probably going to lose players, but But I suppose losing players is going to fuel the ones that we get in as well. So it could be a huge summer for us, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think
and a big job for Iraola as well.
100%. And the summer looks more maybe exciting for us because we kind of already know who we're going to lose in terms of we're going to lose House and Kerkez. I mean, it would take some crazy thing for neither of them to go, especially if teams like Liverpool, Bayern Munich or whoever come in for them. But so we've kind of already accepted that. So it's not going to be a big negative shock. But then the only real shocks we can have, hopefully, are positive ones in terms of players that we're looking to sign, which, it'll be really, really good. And there are areas that we need to strengthen. I think, left back is a very, very big one, especially if we lose Kerkez because Soler is only young. Obviously, we've got Krupi coming in. We don't know what's going to happen with him.
Excited to see him, by the way.
Yeah.
100%. And I think we need a little bit more depth in terms of shifting out a few injury-prone players, maybe like Luis and Estera, and getting in players that can be more reliable because I remember I was speaking to some of my mates before the start of the season, we were saying about how many wingers we've got, and it's crazy how good our depth looked on paper, but when you've got players that can sometimes be out for a long time and then we're left with a bench of kids, it's something that needs to be improved on. So I'm looking forward to the summer, I'm sure everyone is as well.
Yeah. Priorities to replace, well, I say replace, not replace, but have a Christie. A number Christie. So I like Fernandes at Southampton. I think he'd be great in that role. But I'm sure they got someone lined up for it. But they've got to do that because everyone else we can kind of replace, and we've seen this year we can't really.
I mean, we're looking at Ben Winterburn to come on and do something.
It's not fair on him. It's not his level. We thought we couldn't replace Evan Nielsen, and then we found out that Dango could play centre forward. So we're pretty well covered. So I think as well as the obvious ones that we just talked about, where we'll need to replace some people that are leaving, we definitely need a Christie replacement, and we've got a big stock of deadwood when you actually look at it. Where like Traore, Billing, Fevre, that they're. Clearly, Iraola doesn't want to play them. We've spent a lot of cash on them. They're huge wages.
We'll probably get some good money
We've
back
got to
as well.
shift. We've got to shift a block of players out.
And there's also players that I would put in the I don't know category in terms of their future at Bournemouth, including the likes of, say, David Brooks. I mean, he came on and I thought he was quite effective, albeit it was against 10 men, but he was almost in a deeper position. And it was great, like seeing him on the ball because the pitch opened up for him and he could do good things. He probably created our best chance with Evan. Well, maybe not the best because you talk about Jebo at the end. Some people say that may have been offside. We'll have to maybe discuss that. But like players like him, like what his immediate future is as well.
I think you can see that Iraola does like him as a player because otherwise he wouldn't give him decent enough minutes, and maybe if Iraola didn't like a player like David Brooks in the way he plays, he would maybe want to start an academy player over him. So it's clear that there is something there, but then it's a case of, in David Brooks's camp, does he want to really kick on with his career and try and get some minutes elsewhere, wherever that may be? I feel like that's a situation that's completely up to him, and I feel like either thing he does would be completely fair enough. It would be understandable. Because if he wants to get minutes and he's a footballer, he wants to be playing football because that's what he would have dreamed of doing for his whole life. Whereas if he wants to maybe try and fight for a more important role in the team and play more, then I also understand that because he's got the quality to. It'll be a very interesting summer to see what's going to happen with Traore. He's done very well over at Auxerre in France. And see what happens. But yeah, especially because we're going to be getting a lot of money in for certain players. There's a lot of players like Billing, Traore, that have probably retained somewhat a decent amount of their value. So we'll be able to probably spend a lot from a PSR point of view, and I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but be a very interesting summer to say the least.
I think had everyone been fit at Christmas, then rumour has it that Brooks and Unai were going out on loan, and along with Billing and that, just to clear the wage bill. And potentially we were looking at signing another striker that got knackered because of Unai's injury, because we got to carry his wages now through to probably we won't see him again, will we, till about October, November. So I think Brooks will potentially move on. So it would just be a question of would a Premier League club coming up have him, or does he go Championship?
Very interesting. So those, maybe he could be an ex-Cherry that haunted us. Well, haunted Alex Scott's jaw at the weekend was Tyrone Mings. Look, we didn't reference it too much in the vlog because I must admit during the live action I sort of didn't really see what happened, and I didn't watch any highlights until after the vlog was produced. But I did have time to just see a clip of it. So we titled the vlog "Versatile Villa Gave Bournemouth the Elbow," and I've seen it since, and I suppose this conversation is exacerbated by what happened the following day between Chelsea and Newcastle with Nicholas Jackson going in on Sven Botman. But I'm not saying that him seeing red would have changed the game, because Villa would probably have been canny enough to see it out anyway. I mean, that was early doors, in about 7 minutes in, I think. But what did you make of it when you've seen the replays? Because broken jaw, apparently, or fractured jaw at least.
Yeah. There's so many different angles to this conversation. You could probably have it for quite a while. So, if I start at the beginning, I didn't notice it in the game.
No.
Our players didn't seem particularly bothered by it. If that had been Zabani on Watkins, would I have been sat there thinking Zabani needs to go? Yeah. No, I wouldn't. And even having watched it back, I think I'm not 100% convinced. But then you've got to chuck in the Tyrone Mings angle because it isn't Zabani, it's Tyrone Mings, and Tyrone Mings has a track history of the dark arts where there's been a number of incidents involving Tyrone Mings where everyone's staring at it going, did he mean it or didn't he mean it? And I think once you get to a critical mass, you could probably say, I think he's very good at the dark arts.
Hang on, he speaks well. He opens soup kitchens. He's done really good things for charity. Yeah. He's played a little down once with a bunch of Bournemouth fans. Yeah. He's a nice guy, Neil. Sure,
he is. Yeah, and the Cratons used to help old ladies across the road as well. So looks after their own. But no, I don't know. Only he knows, and everyone keeps saying this. Or only Tyrone Mings knows if he meant to stamp on that player. So I don't know. And then of course you got the third bit that comes in, which is Nicholas Jackson yesterday, which just shows to me just the complete and utter inconsistency of refereeing that Iraola's complained about. I think every manager complained about. We've seen it all year round, where even in the same weekend, the same incident is treated differently. Which, so one is or one isn't. So yeah, you can go all day on this one.
Yeah, I did go onto social media on the Sunday, and some Villa fan, like without a face, obviously, went on to Spotify and found a podcast that we recorded, because we were podcast only then, with the incident on Zlatan
for a long time ago.
And where
who was on it, Jeff?
Where we excused it. I think it was me and Jeff, and I think it was my words, and I sort of said that it was probably accidental. In any case, it didn't really connect because he stamped on his ponytail more than anything. But, he hasn't got a track record of this. But since then, there have been a series of incidents, Ben, which makes me think, is he that kind of player? One thing you can say about him, he's a very physical player.
Yeah,
100%. And he's built very strongly, and he's got that kind of like physicality about him, and that's but it just felt to me like he knew that Alex Scott was there because he took a quick glance, but it's just I know he was probably trying to shield the ball by doing that, but it was done with such force that Alex Scott's going to now be out for the season as a result of it.
It's so difficult because I try to be as unbiased towards Bournemouth as I can. And it's a very difficult one because I feel like it's a little bit different to Jackson. Whereas Jackson, you could see he looked back, took a long, hard look, and then kind of did that movement with his elbow, a little bit like João Pedro did for Brighton and against Brentford when he had a near miss where it somehow didn't get called as a red card. Yeah. I feel like out of those three incidents, that's the least likely to get a red card because he's either disguised it really, really well, or it's just incompetence from the referees. But I was a bit more surprised that this could be wrong, but a lot of my friends told me after the game that it got given as a foul from Alex Scott on Tyrone Mings because they both fell over, which is, I think that's also outrageous because how on earth Alex Scott has done anything wrong in that scenario is crazy to me. But there's a big inconsistency with referees and decisions that are made that's seen across no matter what happens. And like, there's so much incompetence that happens, even in the lower leagues, like in the League One playoff. If you saw Leighton Orient strike was offside, and it somehow got given. There's incompetence all around the world, but it just seems to fall for us an unfortunate amount of times. But we'll have to get used to it, and sometimes we don't get the rub of the green, and
Is it a long injury, fractured jaw? Because it sounds horrific.
Well,
Yeah.
he played on.
But he did play on, yeah. But I was hoping he'd be back for the start of the season, but I don't know how long you have to rest I guess it's a hairline fracture because he wouldn't have played on otherwise.
No, I certainly don't know. But it's a shame, and that's just another option that we now.
He was starting to play quite well as well. It's got one of the last few games.
Yeah, he has been, and there have been some like performances recently where I think he has done like really well. He's starting to get a handle on things, but just not. Yeah, sadly not going to have him for the rest of the season. We didn't have Dango, of course. We'll just flash the team lineups on for people who are watching on YouTube, so you can take a look. So that meant Tav and Semenyo, Alex Scott started in the 8. I was quite surprised. Now, Tom got this bang on in our preview. He named 11 out of 11. I thought he might go with Clivert from the off. But he's obviously thinking that maybe, obviously they didn't have Tielemans, but, they have got a lot of great players on the bench, but they're players that aren't deemed good enough to start or whatever. Yeah. Therefore, bring Clivert on later on might be able to be effective. Is that thinking?
It's that Iraola thing where he picks two teams. So he talks about it a lot, doesn't he? When you watch some of his podcasts, that he's got two teams in mind: the team that starts and the team that finishes. And the team that starts isn't always his best 11 because he wants a specific team to finish. And it worked so well against Arsenal, having Semenyo come on like a raging bull and play like the last half an hour, tormenting Arsenal. It drove us to a victory, didn't it? So I think he was trying to repeat the exact same thing with Clivert. If you look at how he fizzled out this year, a lot of it is because he would have wanted to be bringing on Sinistera, Dango, another another centre forward. This is the way Iraola plays. He starts with the front four, and he always takes three of them off on the 65th minute. He's hardly been able to do that for us since we've had injuries, and this is why we're not as effective a side as we were earlier on in the year. When you think against Everton and you're bringing on the likes of Sinistera, you're changing that whole front four, and you score 3 goals in the last 5 minutes while they're tired.
Yeah, because he took Evan Nilsson off in that game, and then we scored 3, which is mad.
Yeah. So he just doesn't have those options now. So it's it's just, I think, part of the reason why we've fallen away.
We'll take a look actually early at the shots chalkboard, and in the first half, Ben, we registered just 2 shots.
Yeah.
I think most of our shots were registered in the last 10 minutes. I think triple that amount. We had 7 shots in the last 10 minutes. I think we had like 10 in total, really. But that first half, firstly, they turned us around. Do you think that was Mings inspired? Because he's obviously played here before. He knows which way he wants to shoot. That's annoying when that happens. They obviously won the toss. It's so frustrating.
It is. It really...
Especially when you're in the north stand. You're in the main for this one, so it maybe didn't affect you as much, but usually you'd be in the north and they would be like, oh, there's a groan in there.
Always.
It feels so strange. But I feel like everything that Villa did just worked so well against us. Yeah. And that's why they are where they are. That's why they've played Champions League football and arguably could have got to the semi-finals against, obviously they played against PSG, and they gave them a really, really good game.
They won at their place, didn't they? At home, 3-2.
Yeah, and I feel like everything that they did just worked perfectly. And even one of the shots that we had in the first 70 minutes was just blocked straight away. So effectively, I don't really count that because if you're shooting against block 2 yards ahead of you from 25 yards out, you don't really remember that. So we had one header.
Well, that was Evan Nilsson. He might have even flicked off Mings anyway. I think.
Exactly. So we had no remote chances in the first kind of hour, 70 minutes.
It's a really tedious game.
I mean, that was live on Sky. What must the people watching Sky Sports be thinking?
It was so bad. They probably thought as well, 2 great entertaining sides, 2 Spanish flair managers. Iraola's never beaten Emery as well, hasn't he? And there's this track history of games where Emery changes his style of normal football because he knows that he knows how to counter the high press, and then they found a spare man in midfield quite often, didn't they? And they were very brave against the press and played out, and it was like a battle of 2 good minds, wasn't it? Really, but I think at the end of the day, Emery's got the players, and we haven't got the players. That's the problem.
And arguably more experienced managerially as well.
Yeah, he's more experienced managerially, but you think he's bringing on John McGinn, and we're looking behind at Jefferson and Winterburn, and it's just we're in a different level, haven't we? I think with a full squad. squad, we'd have, like we did up there, we'd have given them a closer game.
He's got a 51% or higher win record at his last 5 clubs that he's been at, which apparently is like unbelievable. I mean, that's pretty decent, right?
Yeah.
But his last
especially
5
from the
clubs,
state that Villa were in when he took over in 17.
Yeah.
It was completely turned around.
It's funny what happens to sides when Steven Gerrard leaves. I mean, I see the Saudi Arabian side's done nothing but win since he's gone, isn't it?
But first half, Asensio hit the post, as we know, and then it wasn't long later before Adam Smith did got a brilliant yellow, and I say brilliant because it's the kind of yellow that I would take when you got an attacker running through the pitch like it was. But it was that free kick that then led to the part clearance where Semenyo was on the left-hand side, your side on the main stand, sort of trying to dribble it out. And they did on us what we would usually do on them. I think, Cash got something on it, and then, the cross was fired in, and Ollie Watkins, I mean, you look at the replay, slightest of touches.
No, it's mental.
Great.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was perfect from them. What was really annoying, because I was so close to it, you could see Semenyo tried to clear it, and he got you could hear he got a little clip on it, which meant that the ball didn't really go very far. Yeah. But again, it's fine margins. If his foot was 2 centimetres to another side and he connects with that, none of that happens.
Oh yeah, of course, because that was the original. Yeah, that's right.
He swung his legs properly. It was he missed it completely, and the crowd groaned and then cheered because he still had it. I felt really sorry for him because, I mean, that Matty Cash block could have gone anywhere. Matty Cash wasn't planning to play that to another Villa player. He was just trying to put it out for a throw. He turned his body, but it's just. It's really, really irritating. But people having to go at Semenyo for that, I don't think he did anything wrong.
No, he's now become Ollie Watkins, Villa's top Premier League scorer, I think. Really nice finish. It was sort of like a foot version, a kicked version of his header that he scored from that side once, because that was the slightest touch as well when we scored that last minute equaliser against us. But for people watching on YouTube, we'll put the attacking timeline on. I mean, to me, Ben, that doesn't represent how the first half was. No. It shows that we had a fair bit. That must be just the possession.
It is possession based, I'm pretty sure, because I looked at half time, we had something like 70% of the ball. Yeah. And if you've got a lot of possession,
that's what we ate. We ate having the ball.
Exactly. That's why Emery perfected his tactics.
Yeah. I wouldn't actually be surprised if that's the most we've had the ball out of end, because that was a very high percentage. I think this was 32% or something. Would you say?
So we did nothing with it. It was almost felt a little bit reminiscent of the Parker days. Not so the fact that we got outcoached by another team, but we've got a lot of the ball and we struggled to do what we want with it.
Lots of recycling and moving it back and going to the centre backs, and it's just it's not our style of play, is it?
No. So let's just take a look at the match timeline, and you see that there was a flurry of yellows after that Adam Smith challenge, one of whom was Jacob Ramsey, which will go on to not serve him well in the second half. We did make a change, and that was the one I think everyone knew about. It was going to happen with Alex Scott, wasn't it? Because he wasn't. I don't think, I know he had a fractured jaw, but I didn't think he was particularly effective. And Justin Kluivert could be that man, Neil, to maybe unlock things a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's we miss. I understand why we save players to come on, but Kluivert's press we miss. He makes things happen. He hasn't looked on it passing and shooting wise like he was before he went off. But I think his energy helps drive things further up the pitch, particularly when we haven't got Christie. It's when you've got Scott and when you've got Adams, who frustrates me a lot. I know a lot of people like him, but I just think he's so tentative. He's always looking to go backwards, and
he doesn't drive forward much.
He's slow. It slows the game right down. It's really interesting. I think our home games have suffered a little bit since he's settled into the sides. My personal view. I think he's brilliant away from home. I think he's brilliant against the top six. But I think when you've got a lot of the ball, he always goes sideways and backwards. And sometimes you need someone that says, "I'm just going through this lot." But we don't really like an Arna. You need that to me is like the modern central defensive midfielder. They can defend, they can head, they can block just as well as Adams. But then when they get the ball, they can also burst forwards. Is it Belieber at Brighton? They've got one as well. Right. That's the. I don't think Tyler Adams is a modern central defensive midfielder. I think he's a slightly throwback.
So I think he's a sort of sideways player. Sideways.
Yeah, he works so well with Christie, I think.
Yeah,
as well, because he can give the ball to Christie and Christie will drive with it. Yeah. Maybe it's why he's the American captain as well, as Neil said about how he's better against the good teams. Obviously, we know America aren't the best of national teams, but if they're playing against a good nation, I remember he played against England in the World Cup and was very, very good.
Yeah,
he's probably better against the better teams. A bit like we've been all season, to be honest. Yeah. Like doing the double over Arsenal, beating City, Newcastle, Forest. But I think there's a lot of good parts to his game, but I think just everything that Villa did but worked a lot better, and they've got a wider range of midfielders as well, which I think was a big part to the game. I think, obviously, prior to when Jacob Ramsey got sent off, I think what works really well with them is, in terms of playing against us, they, on paper, played a similar formation, but I don't think Ramsey's not a natural winger. He's more naturally a centre midfielder, so he can almost invert in and then create a 3 in midfield, which can go up against our 2 defensive midfielders, or then he can go out on the wing. And then there's so many different things that they can do with the versatility with players like Ramsey or Rodgers, because they can go inside quite well. And it completely did a job on us.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what, I mentioned Sermon then. It sort of reminds me when start of the season when they had that 125th anniversary dinner. Myself, Lucy, Steve Hensman, Tiggs, Tom, like we all went. And afterwards, we went out to town as well. And we didn't realise, but Andrew, like, we were going to go to Basque and like a few of the players that were there as well, because there was a few out, including Andrew Sermon and a number of the ones that were, you know, from our like championship season and stuff. And in the end, we went to another place. I got a video that I'll flash up on YouTube of him dressed in a really smart suit, and we were all walking down to this bar, Be It One, or used to be Kukui or whatever, on Richmond Hill, and we were in a group and we were chatting for ages about AFC Bournemouth, and then at one point Tom was outside having a fag or something. Steve had gone to the toilet, so it was just me and Andrew Sermon. I'd had a few, and I just thought I'd say, so did the sideways sermon tag really annoy you then? He was like, oh, I used to hate it. He couldn't stand it. But he was quite effective at that though, because he moved the ball quickly, didn't he?
He did.
Like, yeah. But so you tainting like Tyler Adams with that same brush then, are you?
No, I'm not tainting him, because I think he's a brilliant player. Like Ben said, I think he's a brilliant player when you have less of the ball and when you're playing away from home, because he wins the ball superbly. He reads the game incredibly well. I just think when you look at, we've had a series of games now like Wolves, Ipswich, Brentford, Villa, recently at home, where we've just looked so slow and lethargic. And I wouldn't necessarily start him in those games. I would try and start other people, like, you know, people talk about Brooks playing well in centre midfield. Start someone that's going to have more of the ball and go forward and beat a man and take them out.
I think him and Cook probably, it's the, you know, the
it is. And then if you get get a goal or 2 up and then bring Tyler Adams on. But definitely 100% you're playing him away from home at Liverpool and, you know, Man City and all those sort of teams. So I just think it's horses for courses. But I don't think it helps having him and Cook sat there.
And those 2 aren't goal.
They don't score goals. They don't really assist. So, you know, you're relying an awful lot on a front 4, 2 of whom at the moment aren't at the peak of their form.
No, true.
And it's, you know, everyone's got to help out. Players will have dips in forms, but.
Yeah, we made a few changes. Brooks coming on for Adam Smith, Senesi for Tyler Adams as well. Later on in the game, we make some more changes, of course, as we know. And look, we'll go straight to the red card. I mean, it was a bit of a cynical pullback from. Well, I think it was a part pullback and part trip, but Ramsey got sent off, and at that point, Ben, sorry, well, you're much better, Tom. I did smell blood a little bit, but it made them even more, you know, defensively. I mean, they were they were superb.
Yeah, it felt reminiscent of when, not when we got sent down to 10 against Wolves, but it just felt reminiscent of almost that, because then they've got an even bigger reason to defend. Because we just can't do anything. I feel like whenever we've got to have more of the ball, we just can't do anything with it. Yeah. And it's a frustrating one, because we just look devoid of ideas for the whole game. We look to players like Antoine Semenyo to create something out of nothing. He does do that at times.
Yeah.
But there's only a certain amount of times that you can do that, because I feel like sometimes when he's driven with the ball or other players do, it can sometimes be dependent on exactly who you're coming up against, whether your fullback's experienced, inexperienced, maybe slightly weaker or smaller. With Villa, a very physical team, we don't have the players, especially with the injuries that we've got, like Dango being out, Sinistera, just falling off the face of the earth, and then Scott going off. We don't really have a lot of people that can just create something out of nothing. Like players like Semenyo can sometimes do. But I thought Villa's game plan, again, I've said it throughout the video, they executed it so well, and they're such a well-drilled side that even though there wasn't a massive break in play, they knew exactly what to do, because that shows how well-drilled they are. Whereas when we go down to 10 men against Wolves, we looked like we were all ends up. We didn't really know what we were doing for large parts of that game, which is why Aston Villa are in the position that they are and we aren't.
Yeah, I think it sort of did, galvanise them quite a lot. And whilst we did have a few shots, it was a tale of two keepers really, that game, for a lot of it, because Martinez was superb for them. I mean, Kepa made some brilliant stops as well. Yeah. That double save, and that was in the first half. That was like phenomenal. And then he also
easy
made
for you
some,
to say.
Yeah, exactly, had a few. And then he did well. I mean, especially with that last save from Semenyo as well. Evan Nilsson's header as well. I never felt like we would score.
No, there wasn't a lot. And when we did get into key positions, that thing that makes fans absolutely rage is that overhit cross.
Yeah.
So you think, brilliant, we've worked our way into a great position. There's a chance here. We've got an extra man. Yeah. And then you swing a cross out into the Ted McDougall stand, and you're like, why? And I think that's a problem. But there's been a lot of criticism online that I've read, about Iraola's inability to break down a low block, and I just think, well, a couple of things need addressing. It's not true. We've broken down loads of low blocks this season. We've beaten Everton twice, who are the kings of the low block. We've beaten Forest. We beat Ipswich. We've beaten a lot of teams that have played Southampton twice.
Yeah.
All of whom came in with a low block, and we've beaten them. So I think that needs addressing. And the other point that strikes me as well is that a lot of teams struggle against. The reason why you play a low block is it is hard to play against. And then the other bit that winds me up as well is, so people are saying, these 6 or 7 games where we should have won against the low block and we haven't, because tactically we haven't been right, or whatever. Had we won those games, there's 21 points and we got 53 points. So we'd have 75 points. So do people seriously think this is a squad that has got 75 points in it? Because that would mean that we were the team that Liverpool were looking over their shoulders at. We've got Jefferson and Winterburn on the bench. It's just not. People need to give Iraola a break on that, I think.
Scoring first has been key.
Scoring, of course it is,
because then it means they've got to come out, and that, when we don't, it just makes it harder, and especially if they score, then
100%.
It makes their low block even more galvanised.
Of course it does,
Yeah. We'll take a look at the heat maps for people watching on YouTube, which shows you that we were everywhere, and Villa really, it feels, by looking at that, Ben, almost like a smash and grab. That is so un-Villa-like, but worked to a T, and now they're arguably in a superb position to get Champions League. And as we look at the average positions as well, you can see that Bournemouth were very advanced, and we'll on the video that we're playing, we'll flash it up so that when the substitutions were made, it made us attack even more. And when Villa made their substitutions, fairly defensive, but when they made their subs, that made them even more resistant, and it was 3 points well gained for them. And I say a story of 2 goalkeepers earlier on. Emi Martinez, according to who scored, was 8.2. I thought the Kepa might score higher, because probably my man of the match. I don't know who the man of the match was. Who was
Kepa.
it?
Yeah, it was Kepa.
Oh, it was Kepa.
Ended up winning it.
He did all right, didn't he?
Thought both keepers had a very, very good game.
Yeah.
And again, Villa's kind of defensive 6 or 7 players just had it spot on, and they just everything that we look to be positive at. It just looked like they knew exactly what to do.
Yeah.
Maybe also helped that they didn't have Champions League football, because you've got a lot more time to focus on that. You've got sole focus on the Premier League, and you're not playing against teams from other nations that have completely different styles of play as well. But yeah, they completely did a job on us in terms of that. And Emi Martinez, when you've got a goalie like that, that wins you football games. You can have all of the good attackers in the world, but then if you've got a defence that is somewhat leaky, you can see like Tottenham can score all the goals in the world. That's why they've got a positive goal difference, but they're sat down in 17th. Yeah. Because if you don't have a goalie that's reliable, that's sometimes what happens.
The squad's excellent.
Yeah.
I think if you look at squads and take everything else out of it, you've got Liverpool, Man City, Arsenal and Villa are the top 4. I think they've got a better squad than Newcastle. They got a better squad than probably Chelsea, because Chelsea got so many disparate parts. But when you look at Villa's depth and the players that they can turn to and bring on, and their starting 11 is excellent. Yeah. And some of the players that got injured, they built an amazing squad. So I don't really come away from that game thinking, have we not beaten Villa? Because I think Villa on their day, other than Liverpool, can beat anyone, can't they? And have.
Yeah, I think it's mad seeing Morgan Rogers as good as he is. There's a bloke in front of me. I think there was at one point he nutmegged someone and took it around someone and crossed it in, and there was one guy in front saying, "Why didn't you do that at Millwall?" But it wasn't necessarily his fault.
Peterborough's a game I remember. Yeah, he was so bad.
Might have been held back by Scotty P, maybe. But
he might have been. Yeah.
They're key. I think Martinez. He sort of reminds me of Artur Boruc in a way. What a character he is. And did you see that four-person sit-down with Frano, Steve Kirk and Matt Ritchie, etc.? That was really good. And the stories they came out with about Artur Boruc, man.
Yeah, he's just apparently...
like having a fag at half-time in the changing room and stuff. Like, unreal, isn't it?
Some of the stories, I've heard other podcasts as well talking about him when he was at, I think, Under the Cosh, which is a really good podcast. I don't know if you ever watch it, it's excellent. But they had someone was on there talking about him when he was at Celtic, where he used to walk back home in his Celtic tracksuit through a Protestant area with a brown bag with like vodka and beer in it, and occasionally if it was a nice day, he'd sit on a bench and just. He said even the hard nut Rangers fans would just leave him alone. They were too scared to go anywhere near him. Yeah, and he's what a character he was. He was brilliant.
One of his teammates, of course, at the time, still playing now, Adam Smith. Shout out for him, 400th Premier League appearance for Wolves, Ben. What a stalwart he's been. Oh,
he's just been so consistent. I remember he had a little dip a couple of seasons back where it made you thinking, God, is this the end of him? Maybe he'll go down the leagues or retire or do whatever, or just be maybe a backup reserve player good for the dressing room. And he's completely turned it around, and he's still our starting right back to this day, despite spending money on Iraola from Barcelona. We've got promising players coming through, and he's just keeping them out because that's exactly what he does. He's a top professional, and that's the reason why he's got 400 appearances, because he's just brilliant.
Yeah. Love him. And I think the biggest compliment you can pay him is he seems to have got better. He's excellent, and he had a slight tail off. And the problem when you're old, isn't it, is that everyone will always say, "Oh, that's it." And he might just be having a poor run of form like all the younger players have as well. But it's he's got to live with that all the time. But he's come back so strong. And if there's any position that Iraola understands on a football pitch, it's right back. Because he's played 450 times there. So he will. The fact that he trusts Smith tells you everything.
I know that every year we come out with this new story, 1 year extension. I don't know why we just don't do a 5-year extension now. Why not?
How old's he? 33? Yeah. 34. He'll do another year, won't he?
Yeah, he probably will.
Surely.
Yeah, I hope so.
We had a comment just to quickly finish. Did the referee have a good game, Stuart Atwell?
No, I didn't think. Again, I don't think he was particularly biased towards any team. I thought Villa fans think that he had a bad game. Bournemouth fans think he had a bad game. I think, reminiscent of when we played Forest last season in the 1-1 draw, it felt like the game was so stop-start that we couldn't really get any momentum going, just from the soft fouls that were given, even the yellow cards that were given when Martinez, who I'm pretty sure he's their captain, came up and was speaking to the ref after a foul was given. You are allowed to do that if you're the captain, and just straight away yellow to 3 players. It feels like he's almost got the cards for show and wants to show them off. And the fouls that were given sometimes were soft for both teams. Sometimes we got given fouls and I was thinking, I don't know if that was a foul. It looked a bit soft.
Yeah.
I just think the referee did not have a good game.
Yeah. The fact that we were singing "It's All About You," so that means that we've had experiences before. The Villa fans were singing "We Don't Know What You're Doing." He's got the cup final, hasn't he, at the weekend, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
So we
can.
You enjoyed watching him. You can watch him again at the weekend. But and also, I mean, even Iraola came out and said that wasn't a sending off. Yeah. So I think when you've got the manager of the team that's kept 11 men on the pitch criticising and sending off, it probably tells you what you need to know.
The first yellow just wasn't a yellow for the direction. I think he was the one that got fouled for just appealing for a foul, for getting a yellow for that. Stupid.
No, I think it's the theme of this season for me. Is I don't normally moan much about refs because I get annoyed by fans that do, because I think over a year it evens out. This year I've moaned more than ever because I just think I've just seen so many examples of poor refereeing, both for us and against us, and just really disappointing.
And the video replays almost exacerbate the mistakes, because you see how inconsistent it all is after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, madness. Well, look, it's been, I think, a pleasure.
Yeah.
Neil, it's been great to have you back.
Yeah, no, good to be here. Good to be here. Always
Ben,
good.
Is this your second debut? Might be.
It might be, to be honest, and it was thoroughly enjoyable.
Ben, how can, people need to know about the TikTok, right?
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of interesting things coming up. There may be a little vlog of our new training ground coming out sometime soon. And we've got a lot of cool videos. I interviewed Anton Spenio and Marcus Tavernier last week when I went there, and it was absolutely brilliant. A lot of videos coming on the way. Road to 20,000 as well. We just hit 20,000 on the YouTube as well. So obviously, thank you for that. And then 20,000 on TikTok. Hopefully it's coming up soon. We're at about 17,500 there. So yeah.
Superb. One day you'll be streets ahead of the YouTube channel, I'm sure. But look, how have you been listening to this or watching? What have you been doing? Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next one. Up the cherries.
Up the cherries.